Hello all YouTubers, I am the Weather Dude. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you all for tuning back into this weather presentation for June 25th, 2020. Before I get on with today's video, however, I would ask that you please do subscribe because we're still getting some watch time from unsubscribed viewers. Thank you guys so much for 600 subscribers. We're getting close to our short-term goal of 700 subscribers, and please help me get to my long-term or somewhat long-term goal of 1,000 subscribers. So please do subscribe and ring the bell notifications so you don't miss my next video. Also, please do watch the whole video because it's a win-win. You know, you guys get the best weather content and I get watch time, which I really do need for my YouTube channel. So please also watch the whole video and also like and share this video. Thank you. Now let's get on with today's video. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing the tropics for the 12th time. You can call this my 12th hurricane season discussion. And again, why we could have a hyperactive hurricane season. So signs of a hyperactive 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. I'd like to start by, for the Bureau of Meteorology and the ENSO, we have had some updates here. And instead of being in an inactive phase, we are now under a La Nina watch. Alright. So instead of being in an inactive phase, we're more so in a La Nina watch, which does mean that chances for La Nina have now increased. Alright, so the chance of La Nina forming during the southern hemisphere springtime has increased to around 50% now, which is twice the normal likelihood. So we look at the climatological models here, and for July, you can see that the CANCIPS and the European model both show close to a La Nina phase, while NASA is closer to, almost at a La Nina phase by Australian standards. Again, Australian standards, it's 0.8 degrees below average for La Nina. For American standards, it's 0.5 degrees below average. All right, and models like the UKMO and the NOAA are also showing more neutral conditions, where below that zero line, no model is above the zero line anymore. So that white zone really indicated here is pretty much where your neutral pattern is. For August, CANCIPS model and NASA, as well as NOAA, by Australian standards, are now in a La Nina phase. UKMO by American standards is there. All right, so, and you can take a look at the bottom of your screen. You can see that the mean is 0.6 degrees below average, which means that it's like the sum of all the models combined, and that is pretty close to a La Nina as well. And you can see at the top there, the bird meteorology model is like the actual bird meteorology model. That's what BOM means, and they're forecasting for August about 0.4 degrees below average. Really does skyrocket though for the BOM by September. We really, plummet down. I should say not skyrocket. We pretty much plummet downwards actually. And you see the sum of all the models is now 0.7 degrees below average. And by October, NASA, NOAA, UKMO also at or very close to La Nina, as well as CANCIPS and the BOM. The only models that aren't really too aggressive on this are JMA and the METEO models. And by November, not much changes except that the sum of all the models now is in a La Nina phase. Once you combine all, I believe it's 7 of these models together. Yeah, 8 models. So once you combine all 8 models, that's what the bottom one is, where it says mean. In terms of the Nino 3-4, we do have a good chance by September, October, maybe we're going to have to see. All right, because it's getting pretty close, and it looks like we might hit it by December. But now, the models, at least at the latest run of this, we're going to hover right on the line between ENSO neutral and La Nina, but either way, we're not really going to have an El Nino, and that's why we could possibly have an active hurricane season. You can see not many of the models go above the zero line anymore either. There's like a dark gray concentration, if you guys can see that, where the models actually do plummet, and that means more and more spaghetti models are showing a more of a plummet, and that's what we're going to be watching for. Nino 3-4 probabilities, August, September, October, November here, were all negative 0.7 degrees, or 0.7 below average. And the chances for La Nina remain about 33 to 40%, while neutral chances remain about 2/3% the whole way through. But again, look at the red. Where are the chances of El Nino? 0%, and that's what counts. We're really not going to have an El Nino at all. All right, so, but for July, for right now, we're definitely in a neutral phase. Chances for La Nina will drop off, or chances for neutral will drop off as we head through the hurricane season, and that means chances for La Nina will rise as we head through the rest of hurricane season. For July here, we're at 0.4 degrees below average, again, at least according to this version, we could be at 0.7 below by September, and even by November 0.8, which, as you guys may or may not know, November is pretty much the end of hurricane season. Ocean temperature anomalies here. You can, if you look by Florida as well as around Cuba, parts of just north of Cuba, just north of Haiti, there in the south, or actually the western Atlantic, I should say, we do have some warmer than average waters, while the central southern Caribbean and the northern Gulf are a little bit below average, but that's not too much of an issue because we're pretty much going to be above 80 degrees either way because we're expecting the ocean to get warmer this time of year anyway. You look at the entire Gulf Stream, however, and we're above average. All right, if you look for the entire Gulf Stream going down the southeast coast, we're definitely seeing ocean temperatures more than 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and pretty much for a good chunk of the Gulf of Mexico, if not actually the entire Gulf of Mexico, is above 82 degrees Fahrenheit in terms of water temperatures. But the Caribbean, as you can see to the southeast part of the Caribbean, there's a little cool spot where water temperatures are just above 80. But other than that, the Caribbean right south of Cuba, on the Bahamas, the west coast of Florida, we're pretty much above 30 degrees Celsius, which is almost 90 degrees Fahrenheit. More like 87 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, out in the tropical Atlantic now, you can see there's a little area of warmer water building right on the right side of your screen closer to Africa, where we've had some cooler waters before have now turned into a little bit warmer waters now. If you watch my past hurricane discussions, you guys would know that we used to have a little cooler patch there now by Africa, but now it's warmer. Now we're starting to warm up those ocean temperature anomalies by Africa. All right, if you look at the actual ocean temperatures, you can see that by right by the islands there off the coast of Africa, the Cape Verde Islands, we're starting to see some warmer waters. Obviously, the northern islands are probably about low 70s, while it's upper 70s on the southern part of the islands in terms of water temperatures. But eventually, this map will pretty much be overtaken by yellow and orange and red by the time we head towards August and September, when the water temperatures will be at their warmest. But for now, off the coast of Africa, right in that MDR region, on the right side of your screen, close to Africa, that's where we usually see our tropical development, and then that heads west. Eventually, those tropical waves, when they do develop later in the season, they'll head west towards the Caribbean islands. But for now, we're starting to warm up, but we're not quite at 80 yet for the MDR region. If you look at Caribbean, you'll be able to see the latest value on the right side of your screen. Caribbean here, about 0.1 degrees above average, but we've definitely been on a downward trend here. If you look at the Atlantic MDR, all right, we're about 0.17 degrees below average, or above average. But again, we've also been on a downward trend for now for that MDR region. So those guys that don't know, again, we're on the right side of your screen there. All right, you can see right by Africa, that's where we do have our MDR region, where hurricanes and tropical systems will start to form come July, mid-July. It all depends on what kind of hurricane season we have. All right, the North Atlantic here, we're about 0.3 degrees below average, but we've been on a little bit of an upward trend, actually, even though the North Atlantic, you can see, is a region that does kind of go up and down a little bit. Like, end of May, very beginning of June, we were really low. Then we skyrocketed to almost zero at the even line by mid-June, and then end of June, we took a tumble, now we're going back up again. So you can see the North Atlantic. But again, I don't really like to show this that much because this does include pretty much like Greenland and like the Arctic, like kind of like the southern Arctic regions. But it is good for showing like the subtropics and what it's doing up there. But this does factor in Greenland too. Alright, so in terms of the East Tropical Atlantic here, again, pretty much same as the MDR here. 0.175 degrees above average, pretty much the exact same actually as the MDR. In terms of the latest anomaly here, as you can see on the right side of your screen, we're starting to take a little bit of a tumble, but as you can see, the graph, like on the left side, it only goes up by 0.1. Like the spread is only 0.1, as opposed to some other ones like you'll see here go up by 0.2 each time, and this one so this one goes up by 0.2 as well. So this one only goes up by 0.1. So even though it's a bigger drop, it looks like it's not really, because you see on the left side of your screen, it's a smaller increment is what I'm trying to say. But still, we've gone up and down a lot, and the East Tropical Atlantic here, a little bit above average, but we've been on the up and down trend. In terms of the Nino 3-4 index, we've been below average, which is good because that's where your La Nina is. That's how you get more hurricanes. So those of you who like to track hurricanes and you want more of them. All right, but we've been a little bit on upward trend, but we're not going to be in El Nino like we were, April and very beginning of May. We're going to be more in event neutral and borderline possibly La Nina come hurricane season. Now, tropical intensity index here, right by the Texas coastline, the Bay of Campeche, which is the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, two areas that we're seeing highly favorable conditions for development. While more by Florida here, and you can see Cuba and Haiti, and then just to the north of that along the southeast coast, we have some highly favorable conditions for development as well. So that's something you have to watch out for. Now, what this is the 26.5 degree isotherms, in case you guys don't know. That's how, because we know that when the sea surface temperature in this area is pretty much 80 degrees already, this is saying how far, like, into the subsurface can we get, how far underwater can we go, and still see water temperatures of 80 degrees plus, because that's what really counts as to tropical cyclonic energy. When the sea surface and sea subsurface temperatures are both 80 degrees Fahrenheit plus. And just at the Cuba, right in that red spot there, you guys can see that we could possibly go 550, 600 feet underground and still see water temperatures of 80 degrees plus. And that's, it's ironic because you would think, when we go underwater, the water temperatures get a little cooler. They do, but if we can go 500 plus feet underwater and still find 80-degree water temperatures, that warm ocean water, that's what's really going to help with our hurricane development, because we're having more tropical cyclonic heat. Now, here is the tropical cyclonic heat potential. And you can see in that same spot, just at the Cuba, in that red zone, we do have some red and pinks. And that's pretty much the top of the scale for the tropical cyclonic heat potential here. Alright. And for much of the Caribbean, though, we're doing pretty good. Alright, we do have a lot of tropical cyclonic heat. If you look at, now we're going to look at the same one we shown before right here, except this time we're going to the Gulf of Mexico now region. You can see like there's a southeast coast on the top of your screen. And most of the Gulf of Mexico, pretty much about 50, 75 meters, you can go underground and still see some 80-degree water temperatures. A couple spots we do see that some dark blues where it may only be 80 degrees at the surface. There's a little dark blue spot on the center of your screen. That means we may only be at 80 degrees at the surface, but not underneath. And there's also a couple yellow spots, meaning we can go about 300 feet on the ground and still see some 80-degree ocean water. You look at the Caribbean here, the Gulf of Mexico, the tropical cyclonic heat. You can see that in the left part of your screen, you can see that we do have some medium tropical cyclonic values, 60 to 80. Well, we do also have some more red and pinks. That's what I showed you before. That's what this one is. Except some of the energy is starting to spill into the Gulf of Mexico a little bit. It's starting to become a little bit more widespread. All right, this is the Saharan Air Layer, and you can see on the left side of your screen, we have a lot of dry air pushing into the Gulf of Mexico. If you saw my last hurricane discussion, you would know that I was talking about the Saharan Air Layer. There should be the dry air, the dust will be arriving on the southeast coast either tonight, or it already might be here, but more tonight, tomorrow night, if it's not there already. And this is going to make for some pretty cool sunsets, all right, for the southeast coast. But as you can see on the right side of your screen, there's another plume of dry air that's making its way westward. And what that's doing is, if you see those little, also on the right side of your screen, there's little gray specks. That's like your satellite imagery. This is your tropical wave convection. And because that dry air is to the north, the tropical waves get pushed to the south. So once that dry air does fade away, the tropical waves will start to move through the MDR region again. Wind shear values, you can see on the middle left side of your screen, you can see that the wind shear values in those darker reds moving over the Caribbean, we're starting to get a little bit more wind shear here. A little bit more wind shear by the eastern seaboard, because there's clear evidence of a jet stream there up on the top center of your screen. You can see that we do have a lot of wind shear, 60, 70 knots. All right, but once that dry air moves through, as you can see on the bottom right of your screen, like where the Cape Verde Islands are, once that dry air moves through, the wind shear might calm down too. We know that less dry air and less wind shear, excuse me, do mean more hurricane development. As you can see, Caribbean, what that black line is saying like where we should be in terms of wind shear, and that blue line is like where we actually are. And you can see right now we go up and down a lot, but right now we're a little bit above average shear for the Caribbean. For the tropical Atlantic, however, by Africa, we're actually below average of shear, which is good for more tropical development. All right, in terms of the wind shear anomalies, you can see that there's a little area of blue on the right side of your screen, and that's the below average shear from 27th of June to July 2nd. But there is going to be a dome right on the top center of your screen. It's going to be a dome of above average wind shear, possibly due to some low pressure systems there. And because we're generating so much wind, all about the steering and where these storms could go. The storms could get steered right into the wind shear, and that would not be good news. 30th of June to July 5th, you can see we do have some more shear as well. But then take a look at what happens by the July 3rd to July 8th, and look what happens here. June 6th to July 11th, as far as this goes, you can see we're starting to see a little area of blue overtake the screen. And that means less wind shear. We're talking about maybe 6, 10, even 15 degrees, or 6 to 15 knots below average of shear. That means if we normally have 30 knots of shear, we only have 18 or so. So that would less wind shear means potentially again more tropical development. All right, this is my forecast for the remainder of the season. This is additional development. This isn't like total, because for like in terms of additional development, we're gonna have another 12 to 18 named storms potentially, another 8 to 12 hurricanes, and another 3 to 7 major hurricanes for the entire season. All right, 15 to 21 named storms, 8 to 12 hurricanes, and 3 to 7 majors. Hopefully, I'll be able to update my forecast, but this is pretty much my forecast for the remainder of the season here. Seasonally, we're supposed to see 12 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. And again, that high pressure builds to the north, so tropical systems building to the south, possibly. Could this happen due to the steering flow? This could certainly happen. This could steer tropical systems to the southeast coast. It could steer tropical systems to the east coast, but watch what happens here. An even stronger high pressure builds to the north now. All right, some tropical systems could even steer into the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean, and now with the high pressure lifting a little bit farther north, and now that it's strengthening a little bit more, all right, this could possibly mean that more storms could be targeted to the eastern seaboard. So that we'll have to watch too. But this is just like a general 500 millibar steering, but it still does gives us an idea of what we could be seeing in terms of steering, like the atmospheric steering for this hurricane season. So thank you guys for watching today's video. I am the Weather Dude, signing off. Till next time. Catch you guys next video.